We descend, feel love, we defy, we defy, we defy, we defy.
Hello and welcome back to Russ Plays Games. My name is Russ, and as you can see, we're sitting in front of my paint station. We are back painting Balthon, the Overlords Cleric. Balthon here, if you remember from last time, we were painting the metal warlord on the square base versus the plastic Balthon that was on just a normal like plastic base. Okay. And we were comparing and contrasting the differences between the metal and the plastic. You know, some details stood out more sharply on the plastic, other details are better on the metal. Honestly, it's up to you how much you want to spend when you want to go for those kind of things. So, without any further ado, today we've got a few things to finish up. We're going to paint the skull that he has right here, okay? So I'll use this end of it. We're going to paint the skull that he has right here, okay? We're also going to paint the crown that's on the skull, okay? And then we're going to paint these tassels that come down from his thing right here, okay? He's got two. He's got one on each side, okay? And so we're going to do that, and then this will be pretty much finished. We won't have to do a whole lot from there. Now, there's a couple different ways that we could paint the tassels, and I'm going to paint them a couple different ways. One way is you can paint the whole thing red. Well, we'll have to do some highlighting and stuff like that too, which we'll do. But first off, what we're going to do is we're going to paint these tassels, okay? And there's a couple different ways to paint these, okay? If you want the detail to kind of stand out, if you want to have a sort of Balthon that has you know, sort of a muted color scheme that doesn't really stand out much, and you want it to kind of look kind of different, I'll show you one way that you can paint the tassels, okay? And for this, we're going to need two colors. We're going to need white, and we're also going to need the contrast paint Gum and Flesh, okay? Because what we're going to do is, and I'm going to use the metal one for this, okay? Because it has the most detail for the tassels, okay? Is we're going to dry brush the tassel, okay? We're going to dry brush the tassel white, okay? And there's a method in our madness for doing this. Okay. Now, just to make sure that we have a good solid coverage base, okay? Just to make sure that we have it all nice and highlighted, we're going to do one final pass. Okay. Okay. That should be good. Now, another way to do this, if you really, really, really wanted it to kind of stand out enough that you could, you know, I don't know, throw a, some sort of a, you could throw a metallic on it, almost like a metallic gold. You know, you could throw something like that on it so that when you put the contrast paint on it, that kind of shines through, and that kind of metallic-y bits kind of comes through. That's up to you, however you want to do it. I'm just showing you one way that we can do this. And then on the other one, I'll show you how we can do that one. But basically what we're going to do is, okay, now it's going to look somewhat like the surrounding cloth, but that will only look that way for a few minutes because we're going to do the thing on it. Now, the other way to do it is because we kind of want these things to stand out a little bit, okay, then we're going to take flag red, okay, there we go. We're going to take this flag red, okay, and we're going to color the banner coming all the way down. What we'll do is when we get done, and this dries, okay, we're going to come back over it with a light dry brush of gold to kind of pick out the details on the tassels. Okay, it's a fairly simple job. Both take about the same amount of time. You just have to decide which one you want to do, which one looks better to you, and which one feels better when you get done with it. Okay. When I was at my girlfriend's place, I painted a version of this, and it didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to. So yeah, I learned from that experience. You tend to learn from the experiences that you do, okay? And so, you know, take them as learning experiences and move on. You know, sometimes you paint one and you kind of go, yeah, that didn't work out so well. And you know what? That's okay. Okay? So let that dry, and when it gets done, we'll come back and we'll dry brush it with some gold. Meanwhile, we're going to move on to doing some highlighting of Balthon here. Now, first things first, we're going to come back with, let me see here, where's my, there it is. This is the color that I use mostly for like flesh tones, okay? Especially flesh tones like my own. I use this sun-kissed peach, okay? Seems to be a fairly interesting tone. Now, biggest areas we want to highlight are the top of his head, okay? We're going to hit the nose, and he doesn't really have a chin, but we will hit the cheekbones, okay? So that's what he's gonna look like when you're done, okay? Because you want his bald head to kind of stand out, okay? Now, something happened on the metal production run. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the left side of his face is all messed up. Okay, can you kind of see the little bulge there on the left side of his nose? I don't know what happened, but it didn't come out normally. So what we're going to do is we're just going to ignore that for now. We're just going to highlight just that little portion of it, of his nose, okay, and his cheekbone and the top of his head, okay? That's what we're going for, right? Now, we shouldn't need to worry too much about the rest of his armor and stuff like that, because the contrast paint will take care of that, especially when it's sitting on the table. No one's really going to care, honestly, just because it's like, it's going to be so far away that people are just going to kind of go, oh, that's kind of interesting. The next thing that we're going to highlight, or the next thing we're going to do, okay, we're going to grab the white again, okay, the pure white. Sounds like it's raining outside. Don't worry too much about the top of the skull. Just going to get the skull itself. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this one 2 ways. Okay. I'm going to paint. Actually, I think I'll do it on this guy because holes are a little bit neater. There's 2 ways that you can do this effect I'm going for, and I don't know if either one is going to work. I don't really have good paint for it. Okay. But normally with skulls and various things like that, you want to leave the skull holes as dark as possible, right? Okay. Because usually no light goes into the eye sockets, okay, unless there's like a light shining straight on, or maybe from underneath. But for this one, we're going to color in the eye sockets, okay? I'll show you why in a second. And I don't have a good fluorescent paint for this, so I'll probably have to pick up a fluorescent paint at some point. Now, in the artwork for Balthon, and I forgot to bring out one of my Warlord core rulebooks, but the skull that Balthon has, okay, the skull here, okay, has a pretty cool effect where it's got like green smoke kind of coming out from the eye holes in the nose, okay? To simulate this, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a fairly bright green, like holly branch, okay? We're going to take this bright green. And that's why I said there's a couple different ways of doing this. Let me just make sure I got a nice chisel tip and a nice point. You want a nice point for this. You don't want the paint going where you don't want it to go. Actually, before we do that, hang on. We need to paint his helmet. We need to paint the crown that he has on it gold. So, I'm going to take my royal gold since it's kind of a royal crown. And you can paint this crown any color you want. If you want it steely colored, you can paint it a steely color. If you want it, you know, more of a Now, because of the mold line, unfortunately, in this skull, in the plastic one, it's going to be a little difficult to get the paint in there. That's one of the differences that I wanted to kind of highlight, was that, yes, in some of these, it is difficult to get the paint where you want it to go. Okay. And so, this is why we want a nice sharp tip. Okay. Because we are going to put some paint deep inside the eye sockets. Thusly. Okay. And right inside the nose. And then to start the effect, I'm going to put a little bit coming up. Okay. Something like that. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah. But you can kind of see. Okay. Now, for the one without, what we're going to do is we are just going to put a little bit of it in the very front of it. Okay. Just kind of going up, kind of like that. Okay. As you can see, we don't have any in the, I mean, even if you do get some inside the eye sockets, no one's going to see it because they're not going to actually see the eye sockets that way. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, so we're going to grab a lighter green. Okay. And making sure that you don't cover too much of it. Okay. You want some of that deep green to show. Okay. We are just going to lighten up kind of the center of it. Okay. It's a very subtle effect, but basically what we're looking at is that right there. Okay. It's a very subtle effect. And we're going to do the same thing on the other Balthon, okay, the plastic one. Okay, we're going to leave much of the deep green on the edges, okay, and we're going to put the light green kind of over the top. Something similar to that. Okay, it's a very subtle effect. Okay, but that's kind of what we're going for. Okay. And then I haven't opened this yet. just picked up this metallic the other day at Hobby Lobby. Come on. There we go. This is called Christmas Green. Okay, it's a folk art metallic. Okay, and we're going to use this very subtly just to give it a shimmering effect. On top of the crown. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. I'm going to have just a little bit of a shimmery effect. Okay. And then up on the crown. I want this to look like vapors. Okay. And I think we've achieved that effect. See how the metallic makes it kind of stand out a little bit. Okay. I know it's very subtle. Okay. But you can kind of see it. Okay. And it's the same thing on the other one. Now, I didn't just buy that one because I felt like it. Or I needed it for just this one thing. I've got a few other things that I'm probably going to end up painting. So that being said, I'm going to stop it here, and when I come back, we're going to go in and we're going to dry brush these tassels on the plastic one, and then we're going to highlight the cloak, and we will be done with Balthon, the Overlord's Cleric. So I will see you in less than a second. And we're back. So what we're going to do is, okay, I'm going to take the barn red color. Run it along top edges of all of the folds. There's a reason for this. So I'm going to highlight these folds up nice. I'm going to start the highlight. Okay. Okay. Oh. You fell. Okay. Now, let me take flag red. I'm just going to go down each fold thusly. Some cases we're going to be very subtle about it. We're going to sort of build up the color over time just to kind of make it a true highlight. And we also want to make sure that we catch the edges of the cloak where it's going to highlight. And there's the highlight done. Let's, okay. And before we finish up the other Balthon, we are going to this on. We are going to grab this is Classic Gold from Anita's All-Purpose Metallic Craft Paint. And I'm going to take a dry brush. probably spend a lot more time kind of dry brushing and edge highlighting and doing a bunch of other things, but I just kind of wanted to show you how some of this stuff was done. And so there you go. His gold tassels are lit up. You can kind of see there that the gold allows the red to shine through. It's a lot more, you can see it a lot better in person than you can on the camera. Sorry about that. Like I said, I don't have a very good camera right now, so kind of got to do what I got to do. And then all you have to do is base him up and shut him out the door. And just to avoid any unpleasantness, we're edge highlighting here, because I don't want to keep having to put paint back on this guy. Come on. Come on. There we go. Alrighty. One of the things I will show you here on a couple of these folds is, if you want to get super fancy with it, and when I say super fancy, I mean if you want to get like super technical with your edge highlighting, you can. After you get done kind of doing the main highlights. Okay. This works better with just a shade lighter than what you use, but I don't have a red that's a shade lighter than I normally use right at the moment, which kind of sucks for me. But I think it'll work with the color I have in mind. But we'll see. The thing about edge highlighting is it is very easy to go overboard and just go crazy on it, and you don't want to do that. Okay, you want to keep it. So you'll notice that, like a lot of times when I'm painting, I'm not going all the way up where I was before. Okay, and that's because with edge highlighting, you don't want to go up as far as you did before, because you want the highlight to be on the thing. So if you think about, like, if I have folds, okay, if I have folds in my cloth, right, in my clothing, okay, the most amount of light hits, you know, like if you look here, okay, the most amount of light is hitting the very edge of it. Okay? And then underneath, you can see that there's a big shadow, and then it gradually gets brighter as it goes out towards the table, right? Okay? So you're going to want to do a little bit up here, and then you're going to want to do the most amount down here. I know that's not ideal because my shirt is gray and not like a red or something like that, but that's kind of what you're looking for when you're doing that kind of edge highlighting. Okay? You never want to be up to the very, very tippy tip. Okay? And that being said, just to have a little bit of a okay. Like I said, it's not ideal, but I'm going to take some pink eraser. Okay. And you don't want too much because this is going to be a very, very strong color. Okay. But if you just come out to the very, very tippy tips. Okay. Come on, tip, don't fail me now. All we're doing is we're just doing this as a subtle highlight. Okay. Just a very, very subtle pop of color. Just to kind of lighten up a few of these little folds, just to make them kind of stand out just a little bit more. And you can do this on either the metal or the plastic one. It really doesn't make a difference. I'm just doing it on the metal one because I have it handy. Okay. And you don't want to go, because here again, you can go overboard with this color. Okay. And it will make it look very, very bright, and you don't want that. You just want the subtleness of it. Okay. So now let me show you what that sort of looks like. You might not be able to tell that it's even there. Okay. But let me but you can kind of tell that right up on the folds, like right up on the very, very tippy tips, okay, there's a little burst of color. Okay, there's a little bit right on that fold, right up from his mace, basically. Okay, there's a little bit on the tips. Okay, over here, it's a little bit more noticeable. Okay, so you can see it there on the top of his fold. You can see it there on the bottom of those folds. You can see it there on the bottom of that. There's a little bit on that fold. Okay, all that does is that just highlights just enough of the light playing off of the fabric. Okay, because if you look at like my hand, right, where the light is shining the most right now is right here. And as it goes back up my arm, it kind of fades away. So what you're doing is when you're doing those kind of highlighting, you're doing just a targeted highlight right there. Okay. And then as you go away from that, you don't want to do anything. Okay. You just want to leave it. So every highlight that you do is going to be less than the highlight that you did before. About only 25% of the highlight you did before. So if you covered a pretty good area, okay. So like for instance, let me grab this paintbrush. So for instance, like up here on Balthon's rear, right? On the backside of this tabard here, okay? I went from basically right underneath this pack all the way down this fold, all the way to here with the barn red, okay? Then I came back and I started about here, okay? So maybe it's more than 25%, okay? It's about 50%. You don't want to do too much, okay? So I started about here, and then I came down this fold all the way to here, and then did along this edge, okay? Now, I didn't do as wide of an area, and I didn't do as long of an area, okay? And then with that pink, because it's such a strong color, and I just want it to be just a little bit of a highlight, I just hit the very tippy tip of this little tiny fold right here, this little tiny corner of the cloak right there, okay? And it's a very subtle highlight, okay? Most people aren't going to notice it, okay? And that's why I'm saying you don't want to do a ton, because you can easily go out and just overdo this whole entire thing, okay? And it will look horrendous. Now, one of the things that I found is I found a pack of these Pathfinder goblins, okay? And I was looking at using these goblins, which were from the Battle Masters, okay, in my Revan army for Warlord. But they're all pretty much the same, and I wasn't too keen on that. So I ended up buying these little Pathfinder goblins. Now, I have metal ones, and I have, so I have, this is like the metal one, okay? And then these are the bones, Pathfinder bones, okay? They're fairly easy to find, and you can do, I mean, you can see a bunch of them, and they have like a bunch of different poses, like this guy's on a little tactical rock, okay? And as you can see, let me get out my thing here, okay? What I did here was I've painted this guy up, and I've highlighted him a little bit, okay? So that you can see, but what I'm especially proud of is the weapon, okay? The weapon has a very subtle rust effect on it, okay? It's a very, very rusty looking thing, okay? You can kind of see that there, all right? Can you see that? Right around the holes, kind of around the very tips of the little things. Because if you look at, and I don't know if this will show up much on, there you go. If you look at it, see there's like all these little jags across the top of it, okay? And then there's all these jags across the top of this one, okay? And then the holes in them and stuff like that. And I thought, oh man, if those were rusty, that would be like a tetanus shot on the table, man. Like, give me a tetanus shot. So what I did was, and then I'm also using the Frontline Gaming bases that I picked up, okay? And basically all the Frontline gaming bases are. Let me grab my my thing of the bases, okay? All they are is they're laser cut wood, okay? And they put a decal over the front, okay? And then you just pop them out, bam, you're ready to go. There's no muss, no fuss, okay? You just plant these guys on the bases and you're good to go, okay? And so I've been painting up. Let me grab some of the other guys here. Here is my the guy that's going to be my leader. As you can see, I did a very, very cool rust effect on the spear there and on his little chopper, okay? And then I did this guy, which is the same as this guy, okay, they're just plastic versus metal, okay, and then they both have this guy's rust effect is very, very subtle. I put more blood on his, but like this guy's got a really damaging rust effect on his. So I'm painting these guys up very slowly but surely. I've almost got everything done. And then this guy, because he doesn't have a tactical rock, I have some rocks that I picked up from outside that just sit in a little container. And I took one out and I put it underneath his foot so that it looks like he's standing on a tactical rock. And then again, I really went to town on his rust effect there. Like, it doesn't show up that well, but man, does it look good. I'll post some up on my Instagram and or on my Russ's Movie Corner page on my on Facebook, and I'll post a link to it down in the description box. Okay, and I will post up the metal and the plastic bones versions of Balthon. I also, let me know if you want me to paint up some more of the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. I'd be willing to do. I have a couple more of these guys to finish. Okay, been painting him the last couple of days. I also have some Uruk-hai and some Lord of the Rings miniatures. I also have, because I have a bunch of evil, I have a bunch of Mordor orcs, and I have a bunch of Uruk-hai, and I'm using the Lord of the Rings tradable miniatures game from Sabertooth Games as sort of a guide when I paint these. And so as you can see, I have a ton of these that I haven't painted yet. I still have a bunch of Uruk-hai. I have a bunch of Mordor orcs that I haven't painted up yet. So if you'd like to see that, drop a comment below. Let me know what you would like to see. Recently, I painted up Leia from West End Games. This was the original. This was their original miniatures line. They're about the same size as the Ral Partha miniatures. Maybe just a tiny bit smaller. And so if you'd like to see some of those, I have some Bones Kobolds, if you'd like to see me paint up some of those. I also have my Sword and Sorcery dudes here. And I had, when I took this guy, because I took this guy to when I visited my girlfriend, and his axe head started coming off, so I had to. So that's why there's like a little bit of white there, is because I had to put some super glue on. I also painted this guy. I need to highlight his little axe because I'm making his axe out of stone instead of metal. Thought that'd be kind of cool looking. And so yeah, I have a whole bunch of figures. On the next episode, we're going to get back into painting Inquisitor Arik Gix. Okay, so stay tuned for that. We'll finish him up, and then we'll pick some miniatures, and we'll start painting some of those as well. So let me know in the comments below what you'd like to do. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of this series so far. And as we say, we will see you on the next one.